The rain hammered against Marcus Reed's windshield as he guided his 18-wheeler through the midnight darkness. Lightning periodically illuminated the empty highway, creating ghostly shadows among the towering pines that lined the road. He'd driven this route countless times over his 15 years as a trucker, but tonight felt different. The storm had an otherworldly quality that set his nerves on edge. Marcus checked his GPS, another 3 hours to his delivery point in Portland. The coffee in his thermos had gone cold hours ago, but he took a sip anyway, grimacing at the bitter taste. The radio only picked up static, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the rhythmic sweep of his wipers. The flash came without warning, not lightning, but a brilliant purple burst that lit up the sky like a second sun. Marcus's truck shuddered as something struck the trailer with enough force to make him swerve. Years of experience kept him from losing control completely as he guided the massive vehicle onto the shoulder. "What the hell?" he muttered, grabbing his flashlight from the glove box. Common sense told him to stay in the cab and call for help, but curiosity won out. He pulled on his rain jacket and stepped out into the storm. The beam of his flashlight revealed a sight that stopped him in his tracks. A figure lay crumpled against his trailer, surrounded by fragments of what looked like ceramic armor. As Marcus watched, the figure stirred and raised its head, revealing distinctly non-human features: iridescent violet skin, large almond-shaped eyes, and delicate gill-like structures along its neck. "Please," the alien said in perfect English, though with an echo-like quality to its voice. "I need shelter. This atmosphere, it's too harsh." Marcus had heard stories of truckers losing their minds on long hauls, but this was beyond any sleep-deprived hallucination. What are you?" "My name is Naira. I'm a xenobiologist from the Centauri Coalition." The alien tried to stand but stumbled. "I escaped from those who would use my research to harm others. They're following me." As if to confirm her words, a harsh beam of light swept across the highway behind them. Marcus heard the distant whine of engines that didn't sound like any aircraft he knew. He had a choice to make. The smart move would be to walk away, get back in his truck, and pretend none of this had happened. But something in Naira's eyes, fear, desperation, and a flicker of hope, made him pause. "Can you walk?" he asked, already moving to help her up. "Barely. Your planet's gravity is stronger than I'm used to." Naira accepted his support, her skin surprisingly warm despite its alien appearance. "My truck's cab is heated. It's not much, but it's better than standing in the rain." Marcus guided her toward the passenger door, trying not to think too hard about how surreal this situation was. As he helped Naira into the cab, she pulled something from a compartment in her damaged armor, a crystal that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. "They want this. It contains data that could save countless lives, or end them, in the wrong hands." Marcus climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. The search beam passed overhead, but nothing seemed to follow them. Yet. "I'm headed to Portland. That work for you? Any direction away from here is acceptable." Naira clutched the crystal to her chest, her violet skin taking on a slightly darker hue. "Thank you. I know helping me puts you at risk." "Yeah, well." Marcus put the truck in gear and pulled back onto the highway. "Let's just say I've got experience with choosing the right thing over the smart thing." As they drove through the storm, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just changed irrevocably. But watching Naira slowly relax as the truck's heater worked its magic, he found he didn't entirely mind. The night was far from over, and he suspected their pursuers wouldn't give up easily. But for now, they had a moment of relative safety. Marcus settled in for what promised to be the most interesting haul of his career. Marcus pulled off the main highway onto a narrow forest road, his headlights cutting through the thinning rain. Naira had grown quieter over the last hour, her violet skin taking on a concerning grayish tinge. "I've got a place," he said, breaking the silence. "Old hunting cabin about 20 minutes up this road. Previous owner died, no relatives claimed it, so I bought it cheap. Makes a good rest stop between long hauls. Naira stirred from her half-conscious state. Your pursuers won't find it? Not on any official records. Paid cash, kept it off the grid. He navigated a particularly rough stretch of road. Plus, got some modifications they won't expect. The cabin emerged from the darkness, a sturdy structure of logs and stone, unremarkable except for the solar panels partially hidden on the roof and the satellite dish disguised as a weather vane. Your dwelling is primitive, Naira observed, then quickly added, but impressive in its concealment. Marcus parked behind the cabin, hiding the truck from the road. Primitive works just fine when you don't want to be found. He helped Naira from the cab, noting how she leaned heavily against him. Previous owner was the paranoid type. Left behind some interesting security features. Inside, Marcus activated systems that wouldn't look out of place in a military installation, motion sensors, thermal cameras, and signal jammers all carefully hidden behind rustic decor. You are full of surprises, Marcus Reed, Naira said, sinking gratefully onto a worn couch. A simple cargo transporter with a fortified sanctuary. Former military intelligence, he admitted, checking the security feeds. Got tired of the complications. Trucking's simpler. Usually. Naira held up the crystal, which pulsed with increasing frequency. They're getting closer. The quantum resonance patterns are accelerating. She tried to stand but swayed dangerously. We should dash. You should rest, Marcus interrupted, gently but firmly pushing her back onto the couch. Can't run if you can barely walk. Tell me about these pursuers. What are we dealing with? The Horizon Corporation's retrieval team. 3 hunters, heavily augmented. They track by energy signatures and neural patterns. Naira's fingers traced patterns on the crystal's surface. This contains proof of their illegal genetic experiments. They've been using isolated worlds as testing grounds, manipulating indigenous species. Your Earth was next on their list. Marcus checked his rifle, more out of habit than hope it would be effective. And you decided to play whistleblower? I couldn't stand by while they dash, Naira broke off as alerts flashed across the security screens. 3 figures in sleek armor emerged from the tree line, their weapons glowing with an ominous blue light. They found us faster than expected, Marcus muttered, already moving to the hidden weapon cache behind a false wall panel. How good is their armor? Nearly impenetrable to conventional weapons. Naira struggled to her feet, the crystal glowing brighter. But it has a weakness. The energy shielding can be overloaded by specific frequency patterns. Marcus pulled out what looked like a modified radar dish. Like the kind of electromagnetic pulse this might generate? Naira's eyes widened. You really are full of surprises. Told you the previous owner was paranoid. Never thought I'd actually need this stuff. He began calibrating the device. Can that crystal of yours help? Yes, but combining its energy with your technology could be unpredictable. Outside, one of the hunters called out in that same electronically distorted voice, surrender the artifact and the fugitive, human. This doesn't concern you. Marcus checked the security feeds again. The hunters had them surrounded, but hadn't breached the cabin's perimeter yet. Way I see it, when someone shows up at my home with weapons drawn, it definitely concerns me. Naira placed the crystal into the dish's central housing, where it fit as if designed for it. Marcus, this could be dangerous. The energy feedback alone dash. Story of my life, he grinned, making final adjustments. Ready? The front door exploded inward. Marcus hit the activation switch. The crystal's pulsing light synchronized with the dish's electromagnetic field, creating a wave of energy that made the air itself seem to ripple. The hunter's armor sparked and sputtered, their weapons going dark. But the crystal's glow intensified beyond anything they'd seen, filling the cabin with brilliant purple light. Marcus! Naira reached for him as reality itself seemed to bend around them. Hold on to something. The world dissolved into light and sound, leaving Marcus with only the warmth of Naira's hand in his and the certainty that his life would never be simple again. Marcus regained consciousness to the smell of pine needles and ozone. He lay on damp ground, stars visible through a canopy of trees overhead. The cabin was gone, along with a circular section of earth around where it had stood. In its place was a perfectly smooth crater 30 feet across. Naira? He pushed himself up, fighting a wave of dizziness. His muscles ached as if he'd run a marathon. Here. Her voice came from behind him. She knelt beside a fallen tree, her violet skin glowing faintly in the darkness. The crystal sat in her lap, its light now a gentle pulse rather than the blinding surge from before. The quantum displacement was larger than anticipated. You think? Marcus surveyed the destruction. What happened to the hunters? Displaced, like the cabin. But to a different location. The crystal's energy interacted chaotically with your device. She attempted to stand but stumbled. Marcus caught her arm. We should move. They'll regroup soon. My truck's still here. Marcus nodded toward where his 18-wheeler sat untouched just outside the crater. But we need a plan. Those hunters aren't going to give up. Naira's fingers traced patterns on the crystal's surface, making it flicker. There's a research outpost. Scientists who've been monitoring Earth, studying your species secretly. They oppose the Horizon Corporation's methods. They'll help us expose the truth. And they're friendly? More curious than hostile. They find humans fascinating. She managed a weak smile. Your species keep surprising them. Like you, helping a stranger despite the risk. Marcus checked his phone, dead, along with every other electronic device he had. Where's this outpost? Northern Canada. Remote enough to avoid detection. Naira's skin paled slightly. But the hunters will expect us to go there. We need to be unpredictable. A distant whine of engines made them both look up. Searchlights swept through the clouds above. My truck has a hidden compartment, Marcus said, already moving. Used to smuggle people out of bad situations. Never thought I'd use it for an alien fugitive. They reached the truck just as the first search beam swept the crater. Marcus helped Naira into the concealed space behind his sleeper cab, designed to look like storage panels. The crystal's energy signature, Naira whispered. They can track it. Marcus pulled a lead-lined box from under his bunk. Will this help? Naira's eyes widened. You are remarkably well equipped for someone seeking a simple life. Simple doesn't mean unprepared. He helped her secure the crystal in the box. Rest. I'll drive us north, but not directly. Got some old routes they won't expect. As Marcus climbed into the driver's seat, Naira caught his hand. Her skin was cooler than before, but her grip was strong. Why are you really helping me, Marcus Reed? He thought about his past, about the missions he'd run and the secrets he'd kept. About choosing to walk away from it all for the solitude of long highways and quiet nights. Maybe I got tired of looking the other way, he said finally. Or maybe I just like complicating my life. The search beams grew closer. Marcus started the engine, its rumble familiar and reassuring. As he pulled onto the forest road, he glanced in his mirror at the crater that had been his sanctuary. They'll be watching major highways, he said. But I know some back roads. Ghost towns, abandoned mines, places that don't exist on modern maps. More surprises in your past? Let's just say trucking wasn't my first career choice. He turned onto a barely visible track through the trees. Get some rest. We've got a long drive ahead. As the truck wound deeper into the wilderness, Marcus couldn't help but smile. He'd spent years running from his old life, and now here he was, diving headfirst into another conspiracy. But this time felt different. This time, he'd chosen his side. The abandoned mining town materialized out of the pre-dawn fog like a ghost. Weathered buildings lined what had once been the main street, their windows dark and empty. Marcus guided his truck between collapsed structures to a large warehouse with a partially intact roof. "Home sweet home," he muttered, killing the engine. "At least for the next few hours." Naira emerged from her hiding space, the lead box containing the crystal clutched to her chest. Her skin had regained some of its luminescence during the drive, but dark patches still mottled her violet coloring. "I recognize this place," she said, studying their surroundings through the windshield. "From our surveys. Your people abandoned it when the mineral resources were depleted. Silver mine went dry in the 1950s. Town died practically overnight." Marcus checked his mirrors. "Makes it perfect for people who don't want to be found." Inside the warehouse, Marcus revealed another surprise, a cache of supplies and equipment hidden beneath false floorboards. "Used to be a waypoint," he explained, setting up portable lights. "For moving certain items and people off the grid." "You were not simply military intelligence," Naira observed, helping him establish a temporary base. "Your skills suggest something more specialized. Extraction specialist. Getting people out of bad situations, usually against someone else's wishes." He paused in setting up a signal jammer. "Until one mission went wrong. Lost some good people because of bad intel and worse decisions." "So you chose isolation? Chose simplicity? Or thought I did?" He gave her a pointed look. "Until a certain alien scientist crashed into my truck." Naira's skin flickered with what might have been embarrassment. "Your involvement was not my intention. But I..." She hesitated. "I am grateful for it." Before Marcus could respond, one of his perimeter sensors chirped. They both froze. "Multiple contacts," Marcus whispered, checking the readout. "Moving in from the north and east." "Not the hunters," Naira said, her skin paling. "Their energy signatures would be different. These are..." Her eyes widened. "Mercenaries. Human ones. The corporation must have decided to employ local assets." Marcus swore softly. "They're adapting. Smart." He began rapidly breaking down their camp. "But if they're human, they'll have human limitations. And human weaknesses. You have experience with such adversaries?" "More than I'd like." He pulled a small case from his supplies and opened it, revealing several compact devices. "Remember those ghost stories about this place being haunted?" Understanding dawned in Naira's luminescent eyes. "You're going to exploit their cultural superstitions. Among other things." Marcus handed her one of the devices. "How's your acting?" The next few minutes were a blur of preparation. When the mercenaries breached the warehouse, they found it empty except for strange lights and eerie sounds emanating from the shadows. Temperature fluctuations made their breath visible in patches of inexplicable cold. From their hiding place in the rafters, Marcus and Naira watched the team's disciplined formation begin to fray. The crystal in its lead box pulsed in sync with the haunting effects, amplifying them beyond what Marcus had planned. "Your technology in the crystal," Naira whispered. "They're resonating again. Good or bad?" A mercenary's flashlight beam swept near their position. Naira's skin brightened involuntarily in response to her tension. "Depends on your perspective," she murmured. "And your tolerance for quantum anomalies." The crystal's pulsing intensified. Reality rippled like heat waves off hot asphalt. The mercenaries' equipment began to malfunction, compasses spinning wildly, radios emitting inhuman sounds. "Time to go," Marcus decided as the first mercenary broke formation, running for the exit. "Things are about to get weird again." They made it to the truck just as the quantum distortion reached its peak. Behind them, the warehouse seemed to fold in on itself, taking their pursuers with it. "Please tell me we didn't just kill them," Marcus said, gunning the engine. "No. Just relocated them. Temporarily." Naira looked drained but satisfied. Though they may develop an increased belief in supernatural phenomena. Marcus couldn't help but laugh as they sped away from the ghost town. "You know, for someone who crashed into my life by accident, you're getting pretty good at this." "For someone who chose a simple life," Naira countered, her skin glowing with what might have been affection, "you seem to excel at complexity." The sun began to rise behind them, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. They weren't safe yet, the hunters would be regrouping, and now they knew Marcus's capabilities made him more than just a civilian accomplice. But somehow, watching Naira's expression as she marveled at the sunrise, Marcus found he didn't mind. Dawn painted the Canadian wilderness in shades of gold as Marcus's truck climbed the mountain road. The research outpost lay ahead, hidden within a natural formation that deflected most scanning technology. But something felt wrong. "It's too quiet," Marcus said, scanning the tree line. "No patrols, no security measures." Naira's skin darkened with concern. "The outpost's defenses are subtle. But you're right, there should be signs of activity." She checked the crystal, now glowing with an urgent pulse. "We should dash." A massive energy barrier erupted across the road. Marcus swerved, bringing the truck to a sliding stop inches from the crackling field. Behind them, another barrier appeared, trapping them in a quarter-mile stretch of road. "Clever humans," a familiar electronic voice called out. The three hunters emerged from the trees, their armor repaired and upgraded. "Leading us straight to the outpost." "They're not here," Naira realized, her skin paling. "The corporation found them first." The lead hunter, the one Marcus recognized as their persistent pursuer, stepped forward. "Your scientist friends have been relocated. Their research proved quite interesting." Marcus quietly activated a sequence on his truck's modified console. "Any chance we can talk this out?" "That depends." The hunter's helmet retracted, revealing surprisingly human features augmented with cybernetic implants. "I am Commander Voss. And contrary to what the fugitive has told you, we're not the villains here," says the man pointing weapons at us, Marcus observed. "Precautionary measures. The crystal she carries? It's not proof of our experiments. It's a weapon. One that could destabilize the quantum foundation of entire worlds." Naira's skin flashed with anger. "Lies. I saw your tests, the genetic manipulation dash. Necessary steps to protect vulnerable worlds from greater threats." Voss spread his hands. "Your own people approved the program, Naira. Check the crystal's data yourself, the full data, not just what you were meant to see." Marcus watched Naira's expression shift from certainty to doubt. "That's not. I would have known." "Would you? How much do you really know about your superior's decisions?" Voss took another step forward. "Return the crystal. Help us complete our work. We can protect Earth and countless other worlds." The crystal pulsed faster in Naira's hands. Marcus saw her hesitate, saw the doubt in her luminescent eyes. Then she looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. "You're right about one thing," she said to Voss. "I didn't see the full picture. But neither did you." She raised the crystal. "Marcus, remember the warehouse?" He smiled, understanding immediately. "Ghost story time?" The crystal's light synchronized with the truck's hidden modifications, tech salvaged from Marcus's past life and enhanced by Naira's knowledge. Reality rippled, but this time they controlled it, channeling the quantum distortion. The hunter's armor sparked and failed. The energy barriers collapsed. And in the chaos, Marcus and Naira made their choice. Not to run. Not this time. The crystal's true purpose activated under their combined influence, not a weapon, but a key. It downloaded the real data, exposing both the corporation's lies and the corruption within Naira's own government. The truth would spread across worlds, impossible to contain. When it was over, Voss and his hunters lay unconscious, their augmentations overloaded. The crystal had burned itself out, now just a transparent mineral with no special properties. So, Marcus said into the sudden quiet. What happens now? Naira's skin glowed with a warmth he'd come to recognize. That depends. How do you feel about becoming Earth's first official liaison to the Centauri Coalition? They'll need someone who understands both worlds. Thought I was done with complicated jobs. But he was smiling. What happened to my simple life? Simple is overrated. Naira took his hand, her skin brightening at the contact. Besides, you were never very good at it. Marcus looked at their joined hands, alien and human. At the unconscious hunters who would face justice on two worlds. At the burned-out crystal that had changed everything. Yeah, he agreed, squeezing her hand gently. Maybe I wasn't. The sun crested the mountain, bathing them in morning light. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, the local authorities responding to energy readings they couldn't possibly understand. Soon there would be questions, explanations, complications. But for now, they had this moment. This choice. This beginning. Marcus Reed, who had run from complexity, found himself embracing it. Because sometimes the most important journeys weren't about finding simplicity. They were about finding where you belonged.